So we've come to the part of the course where the kids should be beginning to contribute to a portfolio. So I wanted to talk you through the way that I did this. There's many ways to do portfolios, but I really believe firmly they are so powerful in getting kids to take ownership of their learning. And I just saw a tremendous amount of growth out of the kids that really did this. Now, do all the kids get as excited and do their best? No, of course not. Does that ever happen? Probably not. But I can tell you I had several kids that you would have never dreamed in your wildest dreams that they would have taken off with this, but they did. So I encourage you to try it. If you just do a few artifacts just to see what it's like and then maybe decide this is not the thing for your kids, that's fine. I did have a tough time last year with my 8th grade class, and I only had a handful of kids that really did it. So it doesn't always work, but it's certainly something you should try with your kids. All right, so why do we do portfolios? Well, portfolios allow for creativity. They give kids an opportunity to use skills that they may not normally get to use in math class, like music, art, public speaking, and things like that. It gives them choice and voice in how they're assessed. A lot of their thinking is revealed in a way that you may not see on a typical assessment. Like if a kid's doing a video and demonstrating something, it's amazing what you learn about the kid watching those videos. And it also holds kids accountable for documenting what they're learning. So it's no longer just you telling them you need to do this, but the kids realize I've got to show that I've learned something. So let's see, what could I pick? And it does give them that accountability. For digital portfolios, I typically use one of two things, slides and sites. And if you're just getting started, I totally recommend slides. If you've been doing this course, you notice I use slides almost every day. We treat it like our notebook or notebook paper. I was using Google Classroom at the time, so it made it super easy for kids to go back to assignments and open their slides and get, if they need to get something, review something, look at something they did earlier. It's just so much easier to keep track of their assignments that way. For sites, it is more challenging. It's not that challenging, but it's just different because they don't do it all the time, so they're having to learn new software. But it does also open them up to the potential larger audience, and it also teaches them a valuable skill. Creating a website is something they can use long after they get out of school, so I would recommend it. What I did is first term I did slides, and second term I did sites, and I had a block scheduled class that was done in December. So you may decide to do slides if you're doing, if you have them all year long and you do it quarterly. You could do like slides for 3 of the quarters and maybe sites for 1. And that way they've at least had the opportunity to do it, but they don't have to deal with it every term. So there's different ways to handle that. But I do recommend slides, especially if you're just getting started. The artifacts they can use, when they create a portfolio, they create artifacts. And what that means is they go create something that shows what they have learned in the class. And I usually just tell them, go back to an assignment, find something you've done, and then I want you to write it up. And these are the tools that they used for these artifacts. They might have picked something off of a Google slide that they did. They might have something on a whiteboard, either a handheld whiteboard that they had at their desk, and they take a picture of it, or it could be work they did on the whiteboard in the front of the class, because we do go to the boards quite a bit and do big tasks, and sometimes they're team tasks. Those are a little harder to use in a portfolio because most of those are group work, but every once in a while I will allow it if a kid can convince me this was my work, I came up with this idea and I really want to put it in my portfolio. And of course I'm going to let them, if they are that, especially if I watched them work the problem and I know that that's true. They will include videos. In fact, I require it that they include at least one video, and they produce some kind of video about something they're learning, talking through a problem, working a problem, teaching someone how to do a problem, just all kinds of different videos. If you look at my website under student work, you will see some of the videos posted there that students have done in my classes. Google Drawings is a way to create artwork and objects and different things to insert in a portfolio. Of course, the Desmos calculator, big part of the portfolio. The GeoGebra also has a calculator. They could use that one too. Graspable Math is not really a calculator, but they do use that a lot for their, like when they want to type out equations and things and just take pictures of those to put into their artifacts. So those are things that they do. And then, of course, photos, screenshots that they've taken, and photos that they've taken. Permissions are a huge big deal when it comes to photos that they've taken on their phone. So I usually warn them not to try to do that because very few school districts will allow students to post photos into their assignments from their phone. So if they can at all possible use the device they're working on to create their photos, it sure is a lot simpler to work with. They do pull things out of Google Docs. They can cut and paste things out of Google Docs straight into slides, so that's pretty easy. And then just stuff we've done on paper and on posters. They could take pictures of that work and put it in. So just because it's not in a digital form, they can turn it into a digital form. We even went outside and did chalk on the sidewalk, and I had kids out there laying on the ground with their Chromebooks, getting pictures of their chalk and putting it in their portfolio. So I'm totally open. Whatever they can find to put in there that's creative and showcases their learning is fair game. All right, now the consideration for portfolios is they have to be given time at school. If you do not give them any time at school, you are definitely, it's an equity issue because some kids are just not going to have a place at their house to do this type of work. And so it would be very difficult for them to do good work on a portfolio without the time in class. So I'd usually on Fridays, or it might be Thursdays, usually one of the last 2 days of the week, I give them a block of time, anywhere from 30 minutes to 45 minutes. Now, we had a block schedule, so that was about half the class period. So if you're not on a block schedule, you may have to give them the whole class period. But they do need time. They do need to have autonomy. So don't tell them what to put in a portfolio. If the whole class is putting the same thing in their portfolio, it's not really... You're not going to get the best work out of your kids, but you're also not going to get a good picture of what your kids know because they're just copying what you're telling them to. So give them that autonomy to create something they care about. They don't always pick the best stuff either, unfortunately. But, that's just part of life. Some kids are not going to take full advantage of this opportunity, and that's okay. Just take what they give you, encourage them to do their best. And sometimes I will ask kids, I want you to go back and make this better. I know you know more than this. Let's do better. The next thing is the requirements for the portfolio artifacts. This is up to you, of course, but these are the 3 things I wanted to see in an artifact. I want something you created as a student. I did not want them just copying a problem out of an assignment that everybody in the class did. If it's the same problem that all the students in the class did, it is not eligible. You need to choose something where you created something uniquely yours. Maybe you made a graph of something, you created a scenario, you made an equation all on your own. So it has to be that. I want something in there that's a reflection about the learning. I had to do a lot of prep work on this. I learned the hard way. They don't know how to do reflections, so we had to practice in class. So I will put some things out soon. I haven't done it yet, but the portfolio is not due to the end, so they generally just put the artifacts in and start on them, but they're tweaking them all semester. So you might mention this, but you will have to train them on how to reflect about the learning because they don't tend to do that if they're not taught how, and they've probably never seen it before or never heard it before. So they need examples of what that looks like. Maybe they could listen to another student reflect on their learning to get some ideas, and then some sentence starters. I sometimes give them those to give them some language to use because they just don't know how to start the conversation. So just whatever you can do to give them that assistance to get them started. They usually do pretty well once they get going. It's just getting them going that's the hard part. And then they'd have to include evidence of growth, something you know now that you did not know when you came to this class. So show me something you have learned that is new. If you're telling me how to graph an equation in slope-intercept form and you knew that back in the 7th grade, that's not eligible. It needs to be something different. And I'm not saying they could have been taught a long time ago and just now learned it. That's okay, but I need it to be something that you've grown and gotten better about. The grading, to be honest, uh, be careful how you grade this. I would definitely not put some detailed rubric out there at all. In fact, I'd started out with a pretty detailed rubric when I first did this, and I realized about, I don't know, after grading about 5 of them, this is a disaster. They're all going to fail. Don't grade them hard. Your goal is to get them to do it, first of all, and then you want to reward them for growth. So they won't do well at first, but as they do these, and I do periodically check to see what they're doing, and coach them up to do better and better, and get the kids that are doing well to share, because that helps the kids that aren't sure what's going on. It gives them some ideas. They can't copy them. They can't use the same problem. So it's not like they're just going to copy their artifacts, but they at least will have an idea of what it's supposed to sound like. I also allow kids to do presentations and interviews. There are some there is a portfolio posted on my website. She's the only student who actually presented her entire portfolio in a video. The presentations we did normally, the kids just stood up and talked about their portfolio, and they just went through it really quickly. I gave them a time limit, I think, of 5 minutes, so they couldn't talk long. And then interviews is where I would sit down with a student that just flat would not get up in front of class, and I had a few that just too much anxiety, could not do that, and I wasn't going to press them. So I did do some student interviews with a few of the kids that were just not okay with the presentations, and asked them questions and had them share with me their thinking. And the grading was basically just do it. Just complete it. I mean, you're going to get a good grade as long as it's done. And I'm not going to be picky, but it has to fulfill the requirements. So as long as it fulfills the requirements, the grade is really not an issue. I almost wish I didn't have to grade it. But, you know, if they're going to spend this much time on it and we have to give major test grades, I think we had to give 5. So I let this be one of those. But I would caution you about putting too much specificity in your grading on this. Let this be a learning experience for the kids, and don't let the grade mess it up, because it will mess it up, especially with your kids that are, you know, trying to make all A's in the class. They really, sadly, don't do their best work on this, because they're just going to do the minimum, or they're going to do, I don't know. You'll see. You'll see what I mean when you do it. I can't really explain it until you've experienced it. If you have any questions about portfolios, if you've never tried this before and you are just needing somebody to talk to, please message me on Twitter. You can give me a direct message if you're my friend. If not, friend me, and so you can direct message me and talk to me, or just talk to me out loud, because you know what? If you have a question, there's probably a bunch of other people that have that same question, and we can just kind of help them all. If you'll go to technomath.com, click on student work, there are student portfolios posted, some pretty good ones actually, and you can get an idea of the types of work that they did. They are slides, all the ones that are posted. That's another reason I prefer slides. It's really easy for me to put this on my site. The sites, it doesn't work that way. They had to give permission, and it just never worked out, so I never ever posted sites. I think it identifies the kid too, so it made it harder to kind of hide their identity. And if you need to email me, here's my email address. Feel free to use it. Let me know what you think. If you plan to do portfolios with your kids, I would love to hear your thoughts and see some of the things that they're doing. It's definitely different than your standard test, but it really does make a difference for many kids. Y'all have a great day.